Welcome to the Bootleg post-game report here at Stanford Stadium. I'm RJ Abadia alongside Jim Rudder, where so many good things to talk about for Stanford in a 56-35 rout of the UCLA Bruins that was not even that close. And no surprise, I think, where we're going to talk first, but some very interesting numbers and a very amazing performance on a historic night at Stanford Stadium. Christian McCaffrey amazes us once again.
Well, it was an exciting night. I mean, it was the building was electric, but I thought the sense was the crowd just was witnessing something very special. I mean, remember, McCaffrey breaks the record, as you were pointing out, RJ, on 21 carries.
Yep.
Took 21 carries to beat Toby Gerhardt's record, and that was all done in 3 quarters. It's remarkable. If he had stayed in and it had been a competitive game, I can't imagine what could have been accomplished. And Christian McCaffrey taking on almost superhero-like status, and people were watching just saying, what is this guy doing? And very exciting to have been here. I feel privileged to have been able to watch that game.
I think a lot of satisfaction for folks who have been watching him all along. A lot of satisfaction for those of us who have been saying you can never have too much Christian McCaffrey. You know, it's a big country. It's a lot of college football teams out there, a lot of great running backs getting a lot of attention. And at this point, I think it's hard to say that there are too many playing at the level that he's playing at. The number I threw at you, I think we'll get out to the folks right now. The record set tonight, 234 yards rushing, and not a single lost yardage.
Yeah, that's remarkable. I mean, that's maybe almost unprecedented for a yardage total like that. And if they hadn't wanted to give him a rest and preserve him for later, he would have easily shattered the all-time all-purpose record that, if I remember correctly, was Glenn Melbourne in the 1990 big game with 375 yards. He would have shattered it. One more, I think it was only 9 yards short or something like that. One more kick return, one appearance in the fourth quarter, and he would have had the all-time all-purpose yardage. And this for a guy who's leading the country in all-purpose yards. So it's not a fluke at this point. Right. The guy can play, and the staff, kudos to the staff. Obviously, you want to give credit to the offensive line and for Kevin Hogan and all the other guys. No question, the play calling tonight, they were giving us the chocolate sundae, right? We were getting the double reverse flea flickers. We were getting some remarkably fun for the fans, place very fun for the fans to watch. It's almost unrecognizable what we saw at Northwestern to open the season, and now seeing this team. To make the comparison, that's going from Steve Buscemi to Channing Tatum. That's going from Janet Reno to Jessica Alba. I mean, it's how could that be the same team we saw in Evanston? And then we're watching them take on a ranked team in UCLA that had every motivation to take Stanford out. Their season needs a little bit of a turnaround. They come in here having lost 7 consecutive games to the Cardinal. There is no question now in anyone's mind that UCLA has a Stanford problem.
Well, they do have a Stanford problem, and they're not going to be the only ones this year. I mean, we're now talking about an offense that has pushed north of 50 points in back-to-back games. You know, since the USC or since the Northwestern game, they've been 40 or above for the whole season. I mean, this is a legit juggernaut. I mean, everyone's using that word, but what other word is there? And I think just so many storylines. You talked about the play calling today. How about Greg Tabata starting out, or I think it was Austin Hooper, starting out in the backfield and ending up 40 yards downfield for a touchdown. I mean, just so much great design. And I think it's really funny because now on Twitter and everything else, we're hearing about, oh my gosh, the vastness, the creativity of David Shaw's playbook. And of course, when things are going wrong, we're all complaining about the vastness and the depths and streamline it and make it simple.
I think in those early press conferences, David was asking for play submissions.
He was taking submissions in Evanston. I can tell you that right now, and it clearly looks like they don't really need too much help, and maybe they probably never did. And I think David Shaw brought that point up as well. You know, it's hard to reconcile the reality of that Northwestern loss with what has become this Stanford season. And Kevin Hogan actually went so far tonight in the postgame press conference to say maybe it was a blessing in disguise.
Well, it certainly set us up for the right mindset, right? You're not going to get overconfident by dropping a game in the season opener. But if you're going to drop one, that's the one to drop, especially on the road to a good team and one that's proven to be, even though last weekend against Michigan was tough, and I don't know what they did today, but certainly they've proven to be a formidable opponent.
They're good. They're not a bad team. They're going to win 9 or 10 games this year, but that notwithstanding, I mean, just an unrecognizable switch has gone on.
And so we can certainly put all the laudatory remarks about McCaffrey. Anyone who watched this game tonight knows that was a magical performance. But other performances, I mean, Austin Hooper gets free for a touchdown. Kajust to a score. They spread it around. Hogan on the reverse. That throw was remarkable. And the catch by Francis Owusu is going to go down. I mean, that was superior to the David Tyree Super Bowl catch.
Well, you have to remind yourself that catch came off of a reverse end around double flea flicker to Kevin Hogan. That was just the start of the play.
So I'm not sure who's not going to see that highlight.
No.
They're going to see the highlight, but it started out as I believe McCaffrey
in the Wildcat
out of the direct snap. So he drops it off to Bryce Love. I thought one of the flips was going to go high, but it ends up in Hogan's hands. He rifles a bullet deep right down the center of the field. And Owusu, for those that didn't see it, to combine a spectacular catch with a display of brotherly love as he reached around, gave his Bruin defender a hug, and still caught the ball with the guy landing on him. He still holds on to it. It is going to be, if that's not front running on SportsCenter, I don't know what should be.
He caught the ball and the Bruin. He caught the defender and he caught the football.
I hope there was a sports photographer who got a beautiful shot of that, because that should go up in the living room of the Owusu family, right alongside some of Chris's great plays. But Francis Owusu, one for the ages, really. That's going to be talked about. That play, certainly, and I've seen it happen before. I've seen the reach around catch before, but on a play like that,
just so spectacular.
It was. It'll be the subject of conversation for years and years to come. And there were so many thrills in this game. I mean, the fans are being treated to a variety of spectacular plays. There was one kind of scary moment when Blake Martinez took a helmet to.
You know, it was funny. I was sitting right next to David Coleman, head of Pac-12 officiating, up in the press box when that play happened, and he had no hesitation. That was a targeting call. It was illegal. David Shaw said it. And, you know, I don't necessarily think a totally malicious attempt on the UCLA player.
It's out of frustration.
Just a play that you can't make anymore in college football.
And we would never want to call direct attention to the perpetrator, number 10. But we're going to actually become his foe, I think. Number 10 is going to look at that and realize, and he's probably a good guy, right? But that was not, you don't want to do that on a football field. The crowd was very pleased to see that he got tossed. He probably realizes he needed to get tossed. And that's why they have the rule. They're trying to discourage that kind of thing, make them think twice. In the heat of battle, you can sometimes make a hit. I wouldn't say it was the cheapest shot I've ever seen, but it was unnecessary, and that's the unnecessary. The targeting, trying to hurt someone is not going to be.
And best and most important news of all, Blake's back.
Yeah, he was back.
He's back. He played. He's back.
Go through I don't know if they went through all the testing, because all of a sudden he's back in and making plays. So that was a relief to anyone who's starting to get excited about the remainder of the season, to have your top defensive player, all around linebacker and leader, to see him go down like that and see the attention they were giving was a scary moment.
Yeah, and it was great to see him back. And David Shaw gave us a little bit of insight. Basically, it was more of the wind being knocked out of him. So I don't think think there was ever concern necessarily about concussion protocol,
Maybe
believe it or not. Yeah, well, certainly in the stands, but yeah, no, and the fact that he returned, I think we can trust was the right decision, and I think he's okay, and I think he needs to be in. I think maybe before we get out of here, we leave it with Blake Martinez in the defense, because on a night like this, when there's so much offense, so much Christian McCaffrey.
On defense, let's give some shout-outs, right? First
Absolutely.
of all, late sacks, they don't get a lot of chances, but Nate Lone, Theta Delta Chi, I might add.
Well, there you go.
Lone with the sack. Great to see him getting in there. Mike Tyler with another sack.
Yeah.
So now Mike Tyler becoming basically a one-man sack attack. But between Tyler and Lone, some of the guys that are not in there on a daily basis got to make some plays. The young secondary, led by Ronnie Harris, showing tremendous leadership and individual play. His reach-around pass breakups are becoming really a special.
No, our secondary I thought looked great against a very talented wide receiver core and a very talented quarterback. I mean, let's be honest.
Did we forget to mention number 13's pick six?
That guy. No, we didn't even get to that. That's what this game. That's what this game was like. Yeah. By the way, the game starts with Elijah Holder taking it to the house on a pick six, and I think the defense. Once again, we have an offense blowing up, which means a defense is going to face a lot of passes, but for the second, third, fourth straight Pac-12 game, the Stanford defense in the second half came out and shut down a talented offensive group. UCLA averaged 15.4 yards per play in the first quarter. In the third quarter, when the game was ended, I don't even want to say decided, but when it was ended, the Stanford defense allowed only 3.7 yards per play. And I think you got to give, amongst all the fireworks, you got to give some shout-outs, first of all, to those guys on the defensive line, because there's only 3 of them really doing the lion's share of the work. Brennan Scarlett.
Terrific tonight. He exploded on a couple of plays where I just was in awe. Actually, I want to go back for a second to that Holder pick six. That may have been the most aggressive tackle of the night when he was mobbed by his own teammates.
It's possible. It's quite possible. And, you know, he covered a lot of ground on that run. Again, on a normal night, that is the SportsCenter highlight. That, I don't even know if that's the top 4 in the top 5 plays from this game tonight.
For Stanford, where we've been hungry for turnovers, we got another one with Cody Whitfield making a pick and almost a second one.
Yeah.
But the fact that the defense could create a couple of turnovers was a big lift, I think, for their confidence. The offense has been blowing people away, but the defense getting a couple of big plays today was certainly a positive sign of things to come.
Yeah, a great all-around effort for Stanford as they come away victors over UCLA 56-35. They now await the Washington Huskies a week from this Saturday to close out the 3-game homestand, and who would have thought that was probably going to be the most difficult game in this 3-game stretch. I think in the preseason, nobody would have thought that, but they're coming on. But they're going to be facing a Stanford team right now for whom the possibilities are limitless at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we're halfway through and starting to think. I don't think it's too much to dare to dream a little bit here. This is a very good team. If we can avoid turnovers, play to our potential, it's going to take a really strong effort to take these guys out.
Knocking on wood with that defensive line, making it through, and it sounds like the coaches and the trainers pretty much have the formula down for not using those guys too much during practice in the week and getting them ramped up and ready for a game. But everything that Stanford could possibly want is still out there, and that's pretty exciting after 6 games.
Right, and still the only Pac-12 team without a loss, and that starts.
Pac-12 North, Utah still.
Oh, so I'm sorry, Utah. Right. Well, I think I was already thinking about the Pac-12 championship game. Oh,
okay.
To get ahead of I was already projecting an L for the Utes, but no. So the only North team, right? That's really what I'm thinking for our the only thing we care about is getting the Pac-12 championship game. So that's the key, and. We'll see. I think the crowd was fairly into it tonight. It was a decent crowd for Thursday night, actually a little better than I thought. And, it was all around good. We want to give a special congratulations to all the new Hall of Fame members.
Absolutely.
We won't list them all, but we'll include, since it's football tonight, we'll include the great Alex Karakazov, who was a 2-time first-team All-Pac 8,
okay.
It was before 1978, so it was All Pac 8. I think I was our first 2-time first-team guy from the offensive line, or maybe a guard, but he was a groundbreaking, terrific player in an era where we didn't have a whole lot of offensive linemen that were getting high accolades. But Alex Karakazov, one of the really underrated and sort of forgotten players, and it was really nice to see him honored by Stanford and by the Stanford Athletics Hall of Fame.
All right, well, it was a picture-perfect night here at Stanford Stadium. Stanford comes away victorious once again over the UCLA Bruins, 56-35. Next opponent, Washington Huskies, a week from Saturday. You've got a 5-1 Stanford team, undefeated in the Pac-12 North. It's all smiles, and it's all good here from Stanford Stadium. For Jim Rutter, I'm RJ Abadia for the Bootleg Postgame Show. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you down the road.